You are not broke because you spend too much. The system was simply never designed for you to win on autopilot. Welcome to USA Rift. Today, we are diving deep into this highly detailed explainer, uncovering the incredibly uncomfortable hidden math of retirement in 2026. We're going to expose a financial trap that is quietly, almost invisibly, waiting for millions of Americans right now. But before we pull back the curtain, please subscribe to the channel, like this explainer to push it out to people who desperately need to hear this, comment your thoughts down below, and become a channel member to support us. Your support literally allows us to keep exposing how money truly works in this country. Okay, let's get into it. Look closely at this number, $1.46 million. According to massive, widespread financial planning surveys, this is the exact new baseline that Americans mathematically believe they need to hit in order to retire comfortably in 2026. I mean, think about that. For decades, right? $1 million was the absolute gold standard. It was the finish line. You hit $1 million, you were safe. But now we've just casually tacked on almost another $500,000 just to feel like we can survive. But what if I told you that focusing on this massive, intimidating pile of money is entirely the wrong approach? What if this widely accepted, almost sacred number is actually a trap? Let's break down the psychology and the cold hard math of why a massive lump sum means absolutely nothing if you don't actually understand the incredibly complex machinery built around it. I want you to read this stark, almost brutal quote pulled directly from the Reddit FIRE community. Now, if you don't know, FIRE stands for Financial Independence, Retire Early. These are people who are absolutely obsessed with the granular math of wealth. And what they are pointing out here is a gritty, very uncomfortable reality about the systemic wealth gap in our economy. The truth is, most people are essentially trapped, operating on a permanent paycheck-to-paycheck loop, feeding all of their hard-earned income directly into bills and directly into debt. So when the macroeconomy tells you that you suddenly did $1.5 million just to survive your golden years, it forces a terrifying realization. The system is actively filtering out those who don't meticulously and actively manage their own financial survival. Section 1. The New Rules of Money. OBBB. Now, what is really fascinating here is the granular detail of exactly how the government is going to assess your wealth under OBBBA, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. The act essentially makes the 7 tax brackets, which range from 10% all the way up to 37%, permanent. But I want you to look very, very closely at the standard deductions, because this is where the game is played. For a single filer, the standard deduction is exactly $16,100. For a married couple filing jointly, it doubles to exactly $32,200. And if you happen to be 65 or older, there is this brand new, highly specific senior bonus deduction of $6,000. Now, on the surface, right, this looks like a massive win for the everyday individual. The system is seemingly allowing you to shield way more of your money from federal income tax before you ever have to hand over a single dime. And this next point brilliantly illustrates the immediate impact of those new rules. A staggering White House analysis projects that under this new OBB framework, 88% of seniors will pay absolutely zero tax on their Social Security benefits. Let that sink in. Zero. When you take those higher standard deductions we just talked about and you combine them with that $6,000 senior bonus, the vast majority of retirees are completely 100% shielded at the federal level. It creates this incredibly powerful illusion of safety. It makes you feel like, hey, the system is finally looking out for me. But, and this is a massive but, this is exactly where the trap is set. Section 2. The Death of 4%. For an entire generation, financial advisors preached something called the 4% rule. It was treated like financial gravity, something you just didn't even have to question. The whole idea was incredibly simple. You save up a big pile of money, you withdraw exactly 4% in year 1, you adjust that amount for inflation every single year after that, and boom, your money will guaranteed outlive you. It was totally passive. It was the ultimate autopilot strategy. But high equity valuations and deeply stubborn inflation have completely killed that old math. It is dead. Morningstar's latest 2026 analysis has actually downgraded the conservative, safe withdrawal rate to just 3.7% for standard 30-year horizon. And honestly, some analysts are even suggesting it needs to be 3.5%. So what does that actually mean for you? It means your massive $1.5 million portfolio generates significantly less safe income than you ever thought possible. And the terrifying reason for this massive downgrade is a silent, completely invisible portfolio killer known as sequence of returns risk. Really let this definition sink in for a second. The stock market absolutely does not care about your 30-year averages. If you happen to experience negative market returns in your first 5 years of retirement, right when you are actively pulling cash out just to survive and pay for groceries, your portfolio becomes permanently damaged. It is a mathematical point of no return. You cannot mathematically recover from it no matter what the market does later. Let's walk step by step through this chilling timeline, just to make you vividly see how the system actively works against you if you aren't paying attention. Year 1, you retire. You are feeling rich, you've got your $1.5 million sitting there. You take your withdrawal. But then year 2 hits. The overall market drops by just 5%. Nothing crazy, just a minor correction. But you still need your $60,000 to live on, right? So you are forced to sell your shares at a loss just to feed yourself. By year 5, because of this exact dynamic, you've sold off so much of your core principal during a down market that even when the market inevitably booms again, you simply don't have enough shares left to capture any of that growth. Your principal is permanently impaired. And by year 20, total, absolute depletion. You are out of money. This is exactly what happens when you blindly trust passive math. Section 3. Immediate impact. The Social Security reality. This is it. $2,076.41. That is the actual mathematical average monthly Social Security check projected for a retired worker in 2026. I want you to honestly think about your own monthly expenses right now. Think about your property taxes, your utilities, your groceries, your wildly expensive healthcare premiums. That $2,076 a month, that translates to roughly $11.98 an hour if you were working a standard full-time job. It is a shocking, terrifyingly low figure that forces every single person watching this to brutally confront the actual scale of their own required savings. So the absolutely crucial point here is visualizing this exact income gap. Let's say you just want a very modest, totally average $60,000 a year lifestyle, okay? And your Social Security only provides about $25,000 of that. Well, the remaining $35,000 has to come directly out of your own portfolio every single year. No matter what the stock market is doing, no matter if there's a recession, this chart perfectly visualizes the intense structural pressure placed on a $1.5 million portfolio to generate the majority of your lifestyle. And it's exactly this immense pressure that forces regular hardworking people into the most dangerous, entirely hidden traps in the American financial system. Section 4, Hidden Traps and Wealth Cliffs. Have you ever heard of IRMA? Honestly, most people haven't, until it completely blindsides them. It stands for the Income-Related Monthly Adjustment Amount. It is a devastating, totally hidden Medicare surcharge. And here is the truly insidious, almost unbelievable part about how this system works. It is dictated by your tax return from exactly 2 years prior. The financial decisions you make and the exact amount of income you pull today in 2024 secretly dictate your financial punishments in 2026. I need you to look very, very closely at this table, specifically at these cliff thresholds. In 2026, if you are single and your modified adjusted gross income is $109,000 or less, your IRMA penalty is 0. You are safe. But listen to me, this is a cliff surcharge. This isn't a gradual tax. If you make $109,001, literally just one single dollar over the limit, you don't just get taxed on that $1. No, you triggered the entire tier. You instantly owe a massive surcharge of $1,148 per person. Cross the next cliff at $137,000, you instantly owe nearly $3,000 extra dollars per person. And the government strips that money directly out of your Social Security check before you ever even see it. This right here is the true pain of the IRMA trap. Let me paint a picture for you. Step 1, you're retired and your roof starts leaking. Or maybe your car breaks down, so you have to withdraw a few extra funds from your traditional IRA to cover the emergency. Step 2, without even realizing it, you accidentally cross that $109,000 threshold by maybe $10, simply because you weren't aggressively watching the exact limits. Step 3. Exactly 2 years later, you get a cold, automated letter from the government stating your Medicare premiums have just doubled. Congratulations, you fixed your leaky roof, and as a reward, the system completely destroys your fixed cash flow, all because you couldn't see the hidden strings pulling the levers behind the scenes. Section 5. The Structural Wealth Gap. If we zoom out and look at the macro level, the average person uses the strategy on the left, static withdrawal. They are blindly pulling the exact same amount of cash out of their accounts every month, completely ignoring market valuations and ultimately risking total failure. But the wealthy? And massive institutions like PGIM and Vanguard? They have meticulously mapped out the strategy on the right, dynamic withdrawals. This means intentionally taking less when the market is down and essentially giving yourself a raise when the market is up. By using these dynamic guardrails, PGIM research actually shows you can safely push your yield all the way up to 5.7%. But here is the catch. It requires extreme flexibility. It requires active daily management. To actually survive, let alone thrive, in this brutal 2026 economy, you have to execute very complex, highly structural maneuvers. You can't just set it and forget it anymore. You must implement those dynamic withdrawal guardrails we just talked about. You literally have to execute Roth conversions in your late 50s and early 60s, completely avoiding that terrifying 2-year IRMA look-back window. You must maintain heavy, calculated cash buffers so you never ever have to sell stocks during a down year. And you must proactively leverage the new OVBBA standard and senior deductions to artificially lower your taxable income on paper. Now, if you actually manage to do all of that, here is the shocking counter-truth that no one talks about. With proper calculated navigation of the new OVBB brackets and deductions we outlined earlier, a single retiree pulling $60,000 out of a $1.5 million portfolio doesn't pay 22% in taxes. They don't even pay 12%. By surgically applying the standard deduction and that $6,000 senior bonus, their effective federal tax rate drops to a tiny, microscopic 6.76%. The system heavily rewards those who intimately understand its granular mechanics, and it brutally extracts wealth from those who don't. Section 6. The uncomfortable truth. $1.5 million is an absolute illusion if you think it magically buys you a ticket to stop paying attention. Passive wealth for the middle class is a myth. The system, through relentless inflation, devastating sequence of returns risk, and entirely hidden Medicare tax cliffs, will actively drain your accounts if you take your hands off the steering wheel for even a second. Wealth retention in 2026 is no longer a passive goal. It is a full-time active management job. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this lingering, highly provocative question, something you really need to sit down and ask yourself today. Are you actually actively managing your financial survival? Or are you just blindly trusting the old, deeply broken math of a system that completely changed its rules without ever bothering to tell you? And honestly, the absolute worst part about all of this, most people will never realize this truth until their money is already gone, until they hit that cliff. That is exactly why you must subscribe to USA Rift right now. Hit that like button on this explainer to push it deep into the algorithm so other people can wake up and protect themselves. Comment your thoughts on these insane new 2026 tax rules down below. And most importantly, become a channel member today to directly support this kind of deep dive analysis. We are going to keep exposing the hidden machinery of the system as long as you keep watching. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll see you in the next explainer.